All right, so we're back in the Premiere project that we were doing the previous post-processing, and now we're going to be doing the new render. So actually did not render the animation that we just made. We're going to be using the frames from the previous one, but it shouldn't change the process. So we're going to be doing some time ramping, some speed ramping in this. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So firstly, I'm going to double click the project area so we can import the shots. And I'm just going to go to iPad. Actually, not here. Should be right here. All right, so once you have once you're in the folder where you have all your frames, what you can do is you can just select the first frame of your animation, click image sequence, and then you can import it like that. And then I'm just gonna right click it and click new sequence from clip. Now you could just drag it into the same sequence, that would also work, but I just want to have like a clean slate of working with. I think it's just cleaner. And you can see that if I scrub through this, that looks pretty decent. However, obviously we don't have the time ramping effects. We're going to add that. So this is an extra shot that I made before. So I'm just going to be cutting this out now. But yeah. So everything else. And also this shot is extra as well. I'm going to be cutting this one out as well. But yeah, you can see that this is exactly what we've made, right? So let's go ahead and first chop up all the shots so we can like actually do the time ramping. And so I'm just going to go to where this one ends. Right there, and you can just press Ctrl K on your keyboard. Alternatively you can also use the razor tool. That would basically just add a cut there. Then you can just go ahead to the next shot right there, Ctrl K on your keyboard, and then the next shot right there. And I'm just going to cut both of these shots out. So what I usually like to do when I'm making animations is I usually try to like make some extra shots, some extra camera angles, which I can sort of like later cut out if I want. But I just like to have like more options and more flexibility in the post-process stage of the animation. But yeah, I just like to have that extra level of control. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started with the time ramping. So if I just play the original animation for you in just a second, you're gonna see the Apple Pencil at the end, it sort of speeds up, and it sort of just the next animation also starts off sped up and it slows down as we go, right? So let's go ahead and do that effect. So I wanted to start speeding up around somewhere like this point right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click this FX button right here first, and I'm going to click time remapping and then speed. All right, let me just increase the size of this so we can see better. And then I'm going to zoom in, and what we can do here is that we can just control click right here to add a point, add a cut basically within the shot. And then what we can do is we can just increase the speed of this by increasing that bar right there. So I think I'm going to do something like 300. You don't have to be super precise, but the more precise you are, the better. And then we're also going to expand these bars out to sort of just make the transition a little more smooth. So what the problem that we're facing right now in this is that you can see that the transition is not smooth enough. You can see that the transition is pretty abrupt. So I'm just going to extend this even more, something like that. Yeah, you can see that that's much more smooth. So I'm just going to do that. Perfect. And after this ends, you're going to move on to the next shot. Just drag that in like that. Again, right click the FX button, add time revamping, speed, and then let's see where we want to start this. You want to start this off. We want it to like start slowing down around this point, maybe something like that. Control click, increase the speed, similar speed, around 300. You don't have to be super precise though. Something like that should be good. And then we can again make the transition smoother as well. Let's see how it looks. Yeah, you can see it looks pretty good. So you can see that this speeds up and that sort of starts off sped up. And I would recommend you to do like roughly similar speed for both shots. That would just make it look, more uniform and more professional, I would say. But yeah, again, as I always say, the creative freedom is definitely with you guys. You guys can make like your own creative decisions. My job here is just to show you guys exactly how to do the things. It's you guys' job to like come up with ideas and make something unique out of what you're learning, right? So again, add a control click to add a point here. Increase the speed like that. Increase this area to make it more smooth. And so yeah, we don't really need to increase the speed at the end of this because I think the transition will look pretty good anyway. And I do want to increase the speed a little though, and then make the transition a little smoother as well. I think that looks pretty good. Let's move on to the next shot now. So So I just realized that there's another shot that we wanted to add, but I forgot to add that before. So what I realized was I rendered that separately. So you can see that if I go to number 4, you can see that this is the render that should come between these two, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and add that now. So let me go to project, double click here, and then I'm just going to go to number 4, and same process, select the first frame image sequence, just the way you would import any image sequence in Premiere. And again, yeah, with this, it's the effect we're trying to do is pretty interesting, because with this we want like up to like here to like be sped up, right? Like pretty sped up, and then from there we want it to like reduce in speed, right? So I'm just gonna right click this, time remapping, speed, add a control point, just control click to add a point, increase the speed like that, increase the distance, and I think the speed is not fast enough, so I'm just gonna increase it something like 400, 450-ish. Yeah, you can see that that looks much better. Maybe reduce it a little bit, something like that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna not speed up at the end. I'm just gonna leave it right there because I think that would look nice. And then this, I don't think we need to add a speed ramp to this, because I think this motion of the animation looks pretty good already. We don't need to add a speed ramp. And obviously at the end you can also add text, you can add a logo and all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, so if I play the animation, you're going to see that the speed effects, the time effects are looking pretty decent, right? So I think that's pretty much it for the time remapping. We can probably go ahead and do some color grading for this, although I don't think we need to do that much color grading because there really isn't that much color in the image to begin with. But what we can do is we can just right click here, click new item, and then we can do an adjustment layer, click OK. Just drag that on top of this and just extend it out to cover the whole, what do you call it? The whole, all the shots. As it would like apply the effect, the same effect to all the shots, and we wouldn't have to like do it individually for every shot. After that, we can just go to Lumetri color. Again, if you don't have Lumetri color in Premiere enabled, what you can do is you can go to window and make sure that Lumetri color is checked, and then it should appear somewhere on your screen. So let me see what I can do. So I actually want to color grade this frame right here. So maybe we want to increase the contrast a little bit, something like that. Let me see how that looks in other shots. I think maybe a little something like 35 should be nice. And then another thing that I want to do is I actually want to, I think the color balance, or the white balance rather, should be fine, but I may want to increase the vibrance a little bit, just a tad bit. And we're going to increase the vibrance and not the saturation, because what vibrance does over saturation is that it increases the saturation of the less saturated parts. So for example, like this part is already pretty saturated, so it wouldn't increase the saturation of that, right? It would, what it would do instead is it would take the less saturated parts and increase those. So that would give you like a more balanced and a more rich looking image. So I think that's pretty much it, pretty much all we were trying to do, right? You can play with curves if you want, but I'm not going to do that. I think the results we're going to get aren't going to be worth it. But I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so after you're done color grading, you can just press Ctrl M on your keyboard to render this out. And what we're going to do then is make sure match source high bitrate is selected. You can select any other preset you want, but I personally prefer this. And then you can go ahead and select the location that you wanted to render it at. Somewhere, I think here should be nice. I'm just going to call this course anim. And then we can just go ahead and press export, and it should be good to go. Alright guys, so thanks a lot for watching. I really hope you learned something new in this, and I really hope you guys enjoyed as well. If you do end up making your own animation, your own renders, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Nafay3D, Nafay3D, and I'll be sure to give you guys feedback. And also give me a follow there. You're going to see all my artwork there, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get some inspiration, and be sure to share your artwork with me as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.